Now that I've finished the NC500 travelogue series, I thought I'd collect a bunch of thoughts about it. First, an overview. Day zero was getting up to Carlisle from wherever we were, for me being over the Peak District and across the Yorkshire Dales. Day one got us all the way to Inverness via Loch Lomond and the Great Glen. Day two was the first part of the actual NC500 route. We did take a little detour though. We went as far as Wick, and though this is considered the most boring part, I think it's fair to say it's just the least remarkable. Day 3 was a long ride around the top of the mainland via John O'Groats to a place called Shagra Beach. Day 4 got us to Gairloch with a fair bit of frustration. Day 5 was the last part of the route itself, back around to Inverness via the very remarkable Applecross Pass. Day 6 was a long drag back down to Carlisle, and at this point I'd run out of GoPro storage. Day 7 then was kinda like day 0. We parted ways and headed home with another trip over the peaks for me. Incidentally, if I'm talking slower than normal, it's because I want to make this easier to subtitle. I have some deaf friends and I want to make these videos more accessible. I tried and failed to pack light. I also underestimated how much GoPro storage I'd need, but managed to clutch it with some clever file management. Flipping SD cards and USB keys on my phone in the middle of nowhere with only power bricks to charge. My new self-inflating air mattress was a really great buy though. Very recommend. I guess weather is a good place to start. We got decent weather for most of it. A little drizzle, some really atmospheric mist on some isolated roads. That was very cool. The first night camping was very windy, especially in the morning. This offended my highly strung sensibilities, but we all pulled through. Mostly it was bright and warm, which is great, but I did sweat a lot under my riding kit, even with maximum ventilation. We only had midges one night and morning, but they were really bad. Just like home. Roads were pretty interesting. Don't go there expecting beautiful sweeping A roads. There is some of that, but a serious amount of it is winding, single track with passing places, rough surfaces, really sharp verges, and lots of little hills. There's also loads of people who do not know how to drive courteously on such roads. A fun fact, there were single track A roads on the route. You'll be lucky if you have any internet, like at all. Pre download your maps and make notes on stopping places, food options, shops, petrol stations, whatever, in advance. Also, don't rely on Google Maps. It doesn't know you're on holidays and will try to optimize your route. You don't want that. Don't bring a caravan. Seriously, I beg you, do not. It's not suitable. Smaller campervans slash RVs you can get away with, but definitely be extra courteous to people if you do. I would honestly say like a VW transporter or transit custom sized van without a coach built body is about as big as you should take. Cars and motorbikes will be fine in the main. The former do need to remember, the latter cannot handle those verges though. Maybe reconsider taking something low and stiff. The roads can be harsh. We saw plenty of bicycles. Please be kind to them. I reckon it's a slog in places. We didn't see many walkers though. It's doable on electric maybe, but likely only for cars with good range, as chargers seem few and generally single unless you can AC charge at your accommodation. I would feel very uncomfortable taking an electric motorbike. unless I had pre-arranged accommodation where I could charge. I did a little research, and the £20 RFID card for chargers is worth it. You won't have signal to use an app. Don't play fuel light roulette, the house will win. One of the gaps between petrol stations was 41 miles, and one of the stations that we visited was out of action. You can absolutely do it in a day, but be advised that it's only 500 miles is an attitude that will see you stuck in the middle of nowhere as the sun goes down. Practically, though, we did it in 4 days, and I don't recommend any less time than we did. There was so much more we could have stopped and seen and done that we just rode on past. Food was kind of an issue. On the way up the east side, we stopped in Helmsdale and nobody was serving until 4 pm. Similarly, the cafes in Wick open kinda late in the morning if you want breakfast. Take advantage of the big Tesco in Wick or Thurso and subsequently Ullapool if you have the ability to preserve food. The shops along the way were small and not well stocked. The poor Spar in Durness looked like it had been stripped bare. We found coming down the west coast that getting pub food was hard if you either weren't a resident or didn't have a booking. The Chippy in Gerlach had a huge queue out the door and up the street. Due to a comedy of errors, I actually bought a dozen eggs in Wick before we went looking for our first campsite and still had all of them when we got back to Inverness. The moral of that story is make sure you have a full gas canister. We tried to do some wild camping and had mixed results. I think along the NC500 route, the options for decent camping ground probably just aren't great within the bounds of where you're allowed to camp. There were also in the more wild campy bits, generally RVs parked pretty much everywhere you could have stopped. Our first night was windy and the only place we could find wasn't very sheltered, and the wind carried a foul smell. The honour camp at Shagra Beach was beautiful though, especially when I got up in the middle of the night to find the wind calm and the moon bright. We gave up around Gerlach as it all looked like enclosed private land and checked in at a serviced camp last minute. I don't recommend trying that unless you have to. We couldn't get one except by being given a lead on one with an unadvertised space by another camp. If you intend on using service camps, absolutely book in advance. That one had a lot of midges, but we had a fire by the beach and it was a great time. They also had showers and a cafe, which meant no midges for breakfast. All in all, I had a great time. I'm not gonna rush to go back because, no lie, it was tiring, but I really enjoyed myself. Definitely go with some friends. Take longer than we did. Plan a bit better than we did. I'll have several POV series from it once I've edited them, which will take me some time. I'll probably intersperse it amongst other POV series. And that's all for now. Stay safe. Did you like this video? Go ahead and like it for me. Drop a comment if you have a question or correction. Check out my other videos, especially the NC500 Travelog series if you haven't watched it. And don't forget to subscribe if you like my videos and hit ye olde bell.